Hello! You'll notice I look really differently today, and that's because I'm not using my usual camera. I am using a really posh, expensive, like super awesome big camera. This is the camera that I normally use. Now, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It gets the job done. However, this beauty, which you are watching me through now, is a little bit better than that. So I've decided that I have this camera out because I'm going to do some work with it over the weekend, and I've decided that I need to do something with it, because to not do something with it would be a waste. It would just be a throwaway. So I'm going to do a little thing called 7 facts about me. 7. That's right, 7 things that I think are interesting or weird or funny about moi. And we start, as ever, at number 1. My first interesting fact is that I am deaf on my left side. When I was younger, I had swimming lessons, as most people do, and whenever I went underwater, it would really, really hurt my ears. So my mum took me to the doctor. The doctor said, your eardrums have burst. It's amazing that you can still hear anything. You've got about 10% of your original eardrum left. We arranged to go to the hospital, and I had some operations on the ears to graft on a new eardrum, and now the right side is absolutely fine, 100% working all the time. And the left side, the eardrum got replaced, but what the surgeons found was that the little bones that vibrate in the ear meant to vibrate on top of each other like that. Mine are aligned slightly weirdly, so they just sort of scrape past each other. The result is that I actually can't hear properly out of this side. It's only about 30% of what it should be normally. I don't know what this is. I feel like, you know when people do this, explaining what sex is? I feel like this is what an ignorant person says what gay sex is. Nobody knows how it works. Fact number 2. I spent my first year at university living by myself. How it happened was that I applied to my university course through clearing, which means that it wasn't one of the ones that I had originally hoped to get, because the grades that I got at my A-levels were not enough to get me onto my first choices at university. So I had to go through one with the results that I did get. The result of this means that I couldn't plan like where I was going to live, or anybody else who was going to be there, or anything like that. It was all very last minute and rushed. So I got into a place which was a 2-bedroom apartment. And then when it came into moving day, I went in to sign the contract to say, yes, I'm going to be living here. No, I won't wreck the place. Yes, it'll all be wonderful and fine. And the landlord said, yeah, actually, there's been a bit of a thing. You see, the person who was meant to be sharing your flat with you failed last year of his course. Right, okay. Yeah, so essentially what that means is that until we find someone else to take up that room, you're going to have the whole place to yourself. Oh. It's not going to cost me any extra, is it? Genuinely, that was one of my first thoughts and worries. It didn't, luckily, thank God. Still very expensive. I lived in a student accommodation by myself for a whole year. Luckily, it was a privately owned accommodation, and because I booked last minute, I booked actually one of the more expensive flats. So I had like penthouse stuff, you know, I was on the top floor. I had a balcony. I wasn't technically supposed to be allowed to go out onto it, but I had a balcony that I managed to go out onto, and, you know, I had a balcony that I managed to go out onto. What more do you need from that? Fact number 3! That hurt my neck, actually. The third fact is that while I can't actually play any instruments, I know enough to make people think that I can play. I'll show you what I mean. The story behind me wanting to learn to play was that when I was in secondary school, I was in the school's production of Bugsy Malone, and part of this production, when we got to rehearsals, we were in the theatre and there was a piano there, and there were these 2 guys who came in and they just played this piano. They were surrounded by this group of people, a large majority of which were people that I found attractive in my year. So, obviously, the only thing to do was to learn so I could get that kind of crowd around me. Clearly that worked. Fact number 4! I need to stop doing that. My left foot is bigger than my right foot. There's no interesting story here, that's just a fact. I fiddled about with the camera for about 5 minutes there trying to get it to work, and as you can see, It's not even in the same position as it was before because I can't bother to try and fix it. But you're just going to have to believe me that the right foot is smaller than the left foot. Maybe I'll upload a proof at some point. Fact number 5. I'm supposed to be really, really intelligent. Back in year 7, I took a test. In fact, we all did. It was a test done by the school to figure out which group you should be in, whether you should be in the lower group where the people who are idiots, or the middle group with people who are okay, or the top group for people who are the smartest of the smart of the smart people, smart. I did, apparently, so well on these tests that they discovered that I was gifted. If you took a look at my testing scores, however, post that, I don't know, maybe I got cocky, maybe the first test was wrong, but I'm not that intelligent. Fact 6! I had my first kiss in the kitchen of my mum and dad's house. Now, what had happened was mum and dad had gone out because they had gone to do rehearsals, I think, because they were putting on a pantomime. And my older brother was away at university at this point, and my younger brother, I'd bribed into staying upstairs with the promise that he could have free reign on the PS2, the laptop, and I'd bring him food, as long as he stayed upstairs. So I'd done this because I knew I had a girl coming around. I had the opportunity set up in my mind. In my mind, it was perfect. Practically an empty house, girl coming round, and I know that she's into me, and I'm into her, so I'm basically in here. The biggest problem, of course, was that I'm quite socially awkward. And so I was just going along, just like, oh, we're just friends, we're just hanging out, blah, blah, blah. I'll go put some pizza on. I'll go into the kitchen, I take the pizza out the freezer, I'd bend down to put it in the oven, and as I step back up, boof! I'm attacked. For lack of a better word, she attacked me, and she just boof from there, just in my face. That's not even the wrong word. In my face was not just on my face, in my face, in my face. Not on, in my face. That relationship then didn't work out for reasons that I won't go into now and probably shouldn't do ever again, ever. Fact number 7. I'm so uninteresting, I can't even think of 7 interesting facts about me. Which means that's the end. Which means that I really shouldn't have ended with that kissing story. One day I'll get the hang of this. Look at all that manly facial hair. Yeah, look at it. Manly. You know what that is? You know why you can see that? True 1080p HD. Booyah!